Lindsay always says that I use this as a bit of sort of a counselling session, standing here. Maybe I do, because I can only draw from my own past when I speak about stuff. Obviously, that's the thing I know about the most. Okay. Should have been really born a gypsy, my dad says. From a very early age, I found myself leaving home, running away from home quite early. We lived in a new town called Redditch. It'd been built in the 70s. And at the time, there's still a lot of woodlands in the area. I think my mum and dad were the first people to live in their council house. It was the real privilege back in the 70s to have a council house. And behind us, there was woods. And I loved being in the woods, to the point where I'd go missing for days on end. I used to build little dens and stuff, and I'd take my brown sauce butties with me, because I didn't eat much. I was a bit of a fussy child. And I'd go missing overnight, 1 or 2 days. And I'd be dragged back by my parents, don't do it, it's really upsetting. And then absolutely, of course I won't. And then I'd disappear again, because I just loved being outside. I loved the sound of the trees. I loved the peace and quiet, the way that the sun came through the trees. And even as a young child, I recognised all these things as being really important to me. I think that stayed with me for about being an adult. As some of you know, I joined the parachute regiment at 16, and I got to do a lot of travelling. And even when I left the army, so I did a lot of travelling. And last week I prayed at the end of the service about the apostles going out. And I said about, obviously, bear that in mind as we leave the church this week, and obviously think about what they went through and obviously the message that they put out there. And I started to think, okay, so all those times that I left the house, or all those times in the armed forces, I always took something with me. I always had a bag with me. Even as a child, my brown sauce butties and my flask, my Action Man flask that I used to take with me drinking, and some people, a couple of nails and my dad's hammer, so I could build a bit of a shelter. Then in the army, we had obviously the bags that sometimes are so heavy to carry, you'd have to lie down in first and get somebody to help you pick them up. And then as an adult, I always had a rucksack. And I have to say, I went through quite a few sort of mental health problems later when I left the armed forces, and I always had a bag. I called it a grab bag. So whenever I sort of had a difficult situation, I fled from it, and I took this bag with me. And then it was always something to cook with, a sleeping bag, a book or something, just something so I could be somewhere else at a moment's notice. Now this week, when I was thinking about, obviously, what I was going to preach about, I was looking for a bag. Could I find one? I couldn't find a single bag that I could bring. I was going to bring loads of stuff, like a sleeping bag, and lay it all out, say, these are things that I would normally take with me. And I got quite annoyed that I couldn't find a bag in the house. And then I sat and I thought, I haven't needed the bag for quite a while. I haven't needed a grab bag, a panic bag, for quite a while now. The reason why I haven't got one is because I've thrown it away. It was probably being eaten by mice in the garage. And I haven't got any of these things anymore that were so important to me to be able to escape. And I sat and I thought, that's amazing. That I hadn't even noticed those things that happened in my life, that those things that I was dependent on at that time, or needed so much to have just in case, aren't there. I don't need them. I haven't even got a bag. I'm a man. Every man should have a rucksack or something. It's part of the integral part of being a man, I'm sure. But I haven't got a rucksack to take with me anymore. I haven't got any of those things. And it kept me thinking about, obviously, the apostles and what they had. So I'm going to read very quickly from Luke, verse 9, where Jesus called the 12 together. He gave them power and authority to drive out demons and to cure diseases. And he sent them out to preach the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. He told them, take nothing for the journey. No staff, no bag, no bread, no money, no extra tunic. He told them to take nothing at all on this journey. Absolutely nothing. So here they were, ready to go out and obviously preach the word of God. And they were told to take absolutely nothing. Now, how many people here could go on a journey these days and take absolutely nothing with them? Even just to get, obviously, from one place to the other, we've got mobile phones with sat-navs on. I used to love going out walking. I used to always take a rucksack with a map, and a firelighter and all the rest just in case, and a first aid kit. But they were told to take absolutely nothing at all. And I think that's so important when we look at, obviously, the baggage or the things that we actually take with us on our daily journeys. We take so much with us, whether it be the conversation we've had in the morning, it hasn't gone quite so as we'd like it to, or the sort of what we're going to have for tea is going through our mind, or how we're going to get to work that morning, and how we're going to pay this, and I'm going to get enough money for that bill, and are the family okay, the grandchildren okay, and blah, all these things that we take with us on our daily journeys, that basically Jesus here telling us to take nothing at all. And I thought, how can we take absolutely nothing at all with us? Because we all have these emotional things, these emotional bits of baggage that we take. Even if it's nothing physical that we need to take with us, we always take something with us. So, has anybody ever heard a chap called John Bunyan? Yeah? I remember reading a book as a child. I was given it, the Pilgrimage by John Bunyan, so it's the Pilgrim Master. Could I find a copy of it recently? No. So I was looking on the internet, other things obviously about John Bunyan. John Bunyan was obviously a pugilist. He was arrested 12 times during his lifetime because of the way he preached and so on. And there's a poem by him. And I'm going to read the poem out to you. Okay, it's called He Who Would Be Valiant. Okay, so it's he who would be valiant, be against all disaster. Let him constantly follow the master. There's no discouragement shall make him relent his first avowed intent to be a pilgrim. Who set beside him around with dismal stories, do themselves confound. His strength the more is, no foes shall stay his might, though he with giants fight, who make good his right to be a pilgrim. Since the Lord does defend us with thy spirit, we know at the end shall life inherit. The fancies flee away, I'll fear not what men will say. I'll labour night and day to be a pilgrim. Now, a pilgrim is somebody that's on a religious journey. They're travelling from one place either for a religious purpose or to a religious or to a sanctified place. That's what a pilgrim actually means. And I thought, actually, every single one of us can be classed as being a pilgrim. We hear all the time about being on a journey with the Lord. How there's a wider path and there's a narrow path. And we hear this all the time. And it's only when I sort of started to think about this week that I realised how much of a journey I've actually been on already and how far I want to go with that journey. It's so important to actually just take stock every now and again and think, actually, where am I? And as I said, leaving that thing in the CV, it was such an important step of being on that journey that I didn't take it off. That I was actually ready to actually stand to anybody and say, look, this is who I am, and take that opportunity, no matter where it came from, to take that opportunity. And I'm happy to say that I am on a pilgrimage. I know where I'm going to end up. Yeah, I know because I truly believe in it. But I know along the way there's going to be stepping stones and rough passage and obviously a few upsets and maybe a little bit of baggage to take with me. But when I get there, I don't need anything else, because the very person I am, that's been shaped and moulded and created, is enough when I get there. So I don't need that grab bag with my sleeping bag, my brown sauce butties in anymore, because I've got enough in me each day to actually make sure that I can carry out that next step. And I thought, it's okay. So here's the sort of the apostles going out. Now, we know they were fishermen and carpenters and so on and so forth, but they weren't uneducated people. They would have known the Torah, obviously the Jewish ways. They would have been brought up, obviously, in the Jewish faith from a very early age. Probably, at the age of 13, they would have spoken in the synagogues, as was the customs. So they weren't unaware, obviously, what obviously was said beforehand. So I want to look at Psalm 121. I love the Psalms. I have a terrible singing voice. Okay, and I apologize to anybody that I stand near when I'm singing. Okay, but I do like the Psalms because whenever we hear a song, okay, it evokes an emotion. It's meant to. See, we can listen to something on the radio, and the person that's wrote the song is talking about a life experience, and they put it into words, and people can relate to that. And that's why I like the Psalms. The authors of them, okay, they're talking about a life experience, a passion experience, and they're putting it into words for others to actually sing as we've just done ourselves here this morning. So I'm going to read Psalm 121 to you. Okay, I will lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let my foot slip. He who watches will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will never slumber or sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Okay, just want you to sit and just reflect on that a moment. Because I've read the Psalms hundreds of times, and it's only, we call this the Living Bible. It speaks to you when you really need to hear it the most. We read it and we read it and we read it, and each time it reveals something a little bit more to me, or to all of us. And when I sat and I read this psalm, I thought, it's exactly what I was talking about last week. It's exactly what I prayed about last week. It's exactly how I feel right now. I've been on such a journey already. And why and how and sort of how have I been kept safe along this journey? Because it hasn't been easy. I've had to hold my hand up to being this terrible human being that I was before. And I was a terrible human before. And I've had to stand there and I've had to sort of tell people about it. But no harm has really come to me over it. In fact, quite the opposite. My life's improved tenfold, hundredfold, in fact. I've got a beautiful wife, a beautiful family, a grandchild I love absolutely to the bits. And all those things is because obviously the start of the journey that took a couple of years ago. So I just want to talk about obviously the psalm. So I'm going to break it down. Obviously, the first part of the psalm. So the question of security can be found, or can be originally be found or prompted by any number of situations. So here we've got obviously the writer saying in verse 1, I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? Okay, it's this question. Okay, we all have the same question. Okay, we lift up our eyes each day. We wake up and think, okay, Lord, help me. Or if we're not Christian, okay, what do I need to put in place today to make sure that I'm successful? Okay, what can I do to make sure that obviously the day goes as planned? Okay, so there's two different sides of that picture. So the question can be prompted by any number of situations. We often ask the same question on a daily basis. Okay, we look for security in our relationships with other people. We're constantly looking for financial security. The price of living going up left, right, and centre, and we're constantly thinking, can I afford this? Can I afford that? So we're always looking, can I afford to retire at some point? Probably not. We try to secure everything in our lives. So there's no difference now to back then when these psalms are being written. Obviously, the security, where does my security come from? But in the context of this, the writer saying, I lift my eyes to the hills. So he was thinking about, obviously, going forward on a journey. Now, the hills at those times were probably full of marauders. There's people that robbed and killed and pillaged and stuff. There was unruly people living in the hills. So here he was looking at the hills thinking, right, I've got to go on this journey now. And I know it's not going to be safe. So who's going to protect me? Okay, so there's one thing that he probably had in mind when he was writing it. Also as well, he may be at the foot of the hill, and thinking, I don't know the route through these hills to get to where I'm going to get to. So who's going to protect me and guide me? Who's going to show me the way along this passage? So the writer's asking the same question that many of us are asking. Okay, I'm at the beginning of a journey. Okay, how am I going to get to the end point? Okay, is it safe along this route? Am I going to come to harm? Okay, can I manage? Have I got the things that I need to take with me along this journey? So in the second part, where it states, my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Absolutely. He could stop there. At that point, he could just stop there because I'm fulfilled with that answer. Now, some people may listen to this or think about this and actually think, no, I need a little bit more. Yeah, but that's absolute. At that moment in time, he answers the question perfectly. He states, my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. What an amazing answer for any question. Okay, where does your help come from on a daily basis? The same place. It does. Every single morning I know that I wake up and I pray, Lord, give me the strength to get through the day. Not because I'm a depressive person, yeah, and I need help to get through the day, but I know there's things along the day that I may respond to in a human way, which might be not the best at times, the frustration, the anger, sort of maybe a little bit of sarcasm thrown in along the way. But I ask each morning for the strength and the guidance to make sure that at the end of the day that I've done exactly what the Lord wants me to do, and I haven't upset anybody along the way. Doesn't always work, but I certainly pray about it. So here he is, he's saying, right, okay, I know it's going to be treacherous, I know there's going to be a little bit of danger, who's going to help me, what do I need? Straight away he says, the Lord. So his help comes from the Lord, the very maker of all things on heaven and earth. It protects him from every threat or every conceived threat. Because not every threat is real. Sometimes it's in our own head. We all have those sort of mental blocks, don't we? Those scotomas where we feel as if we can't do something. Have I got the strength? Have I got the words? Even this morning I was panicking because it's been a while since I've done this. And I thought, no, strength comes from the Lord. So here it is. Obviously, these are man-made threats that he's facing. Marauders, not knowing the route. Obviously, there's somewhere he's got to get to. And he's saying, okay, so the Lord's going to help me. But he's talking about the Lord that rules absolute supreme. Okay, the Lord created both heaven and earth, and there's no problem, there's no difficulties that this traveller can face that the Lord hasn't already got control of. We all know that as a Christian, the route is not easy. We have difficulties along the way. And when I first became a Christian, I used to think of them as blocks. And it used to take me a step back, and I'd have to then have to try and work way forward again. But I know that every single time I hit something now, a difficulty I've not faced before, it is, yeah, exactly, it's a stepping stone, it's a building block. Not a block in a wall that I can't climb over, it's a block at the foot of the wall that helps me get over that next bit. And this is what he's saying, that there's nothing in life that the Lord, the creator of heaven and earth, hasn't already thought about, hasn't already gave you the skills, the knowledge, the stuff you need in your bag to take you over it. So we've got an absolute definition here, a problem, solution, straight away. So this is the Lord that created heaven and earth, that gave us the solution to every single problem, then, when the psalm was written, and forevermore. He's already thought about next week for us, and the week after, and the week after, and the year after, and the year after that. There's already a journey planned out for each and every single one of us with those building blocks in place. So when we get to the final destination, we've got everything that we need to actually be relaxed when we get there. How many times have we all gone on a journey and finally got there and thought, drag this suitcase for 8 hours now. And the room's not quite ours, it doesn't look anything like the photograph. Yeah, and I've got to go to reception now. I've got to tell them that I'm not happy with the room. Yeah, how many times of us have been on that journey, we'll get there, we're exhausted, and we've still got a few more steps to take? Well, actually, this is a journey that we're taking, that when we get there, everything is going to be exactly as promised. Yeah, everything that we've had to do, everything we've gone through, the journey, the destination is going to be, in fact, better than promised, because our imagination only allows us to get to a certain point, but we can't actually describe the place that we're going to. There's no one ever been and come back and said, I've rated it 5 stars on TripAdvisor. Okay, nobody's ever done that, but we know the limit of our imagination, it's going to be amazing. But this is talking about the Lord's imagination, the Lord's creation, the place that we're going to is going to be absolutely perfect. Yeah, and we've got all the stuff that we need to be there. Now, we haven't got to worry about beach towels and suntan lotion and all the rest of it. Yeah, everything's going to be perfect, and we're going to be perfect to be there. Yeah. There's a statement that goes along alongside that. The perils may be unknown, but the trust in the security is certain. So we don't know what's going to happen when we leave here today. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. Okay, but we can be absolutely certain in the fact that we can trust the Lord to make sure we've got everything we need for that situation. Okay, indeed, he who watches over Israel will never slumber or sleep. Okay, will never, not very often, or, he only works 6 days a week. Yeah? He will never slumber and sleep. So this is the Lord that actually looked over Israel. So we look at Exodus 6:6, where it says to Pharaoh about, go forward and say, this is Israel, this is my son. Okay, we know that very same Lord hasn't been asleep from then till now. He isn't resting on his laurels saying, I created the universe and everything in it, and I'm going to have a bit of a relaxation period now, and you can just get on with it. He's still very much awake and very much involved in all of our lives. Okay, he is. And we can't deny it because we see it on a daily basis. Okay, when Bob said, has anybody got testimonies? I'm sure that every single person in this room, if they had the confidence, would stand up and shout out something positive that's happened to them that week because of the Lord. We're so small as to the large things, but not everybody wants to stand up. Not everybody wants to declare that, on a daily basis. And that's personal choice, but I'm sure every single one of us would have a testimony where God has helped us. Even this morning, I forgot to set the alarm. I know that I had to get up at a certain time, and I'm a rubbish sleeper. I don't sleep very well. And just lately, I've been sleeping later and later. And I forgot to set the alarm. But there's somebody drilling outside next door this morning. At the time, the alarm should have gone off. And I thought, thank God. Because I would have still been probably asleep now. So obviously, he's working somewhere in something to make sure that the very things that he's got planned happen. Most mornings I would have woke up thinking, there's somebody drilling. But this morning I woke up thinking, thank God, because I forgot to set the alarm. Okay, so it's those little things that obviously we can give thanks for, that we maybe don't even realize that we should give thanks for. I keep saying about my life being rubbish before I became a Christian, and it's true. Very much true. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got children I love very much, and I've now got a grandchild. All those have been given to me, not because I deserve them, because it's part of God's plan for my life. And I recognize that on a daily basis. I have got so much to be sort of thankful for. Yeah, I could always do a little bit more money. You couldn't, and maybe sort of I don't know, maybe I don't need those things. That's the human side of me saying that, maybe I could do a little bit more money. I don't. My bills are paid, I've got food in the cupboard, I'm a happy person. Now, I was brought up in that way. Make sure your bills are paid. Make sure you've got food in the cupboard, you're a rich man. We don't have credit. We don't have credit cards. Everything we've got, we pay for. We earn it. So I lie when I say maybe I could have a bit more money. I don't really need it. Maybe I don't need any money at all. Maybe God will just provide and provide and provide and provide. Okay? Maybe I should just trust that. I don't think Lindsay would be very happy. We'll just say I'm giving up my job because God's going to give me everything I need. Difficult conversation to have at home. So then the psalmist goes on to write, the sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. In fact, actually, I missed a bit out, sorry. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at the right hand. Now, is anybody in here left-handed? Okay, I apologize in advance. Okay, the right hand is supposed to mean valor and strength. Okay, so we think about, so obviously, the sword hand was always the right hand. Now, when a gentleman walks along on the footpath with a lady, he holds her left hand. He stands on the right next to the side of the road. How many people still do that? No. Feminism is kicked in. Okay, that's a gentlemanly thing to do. You walk on the side of the curb. Okay, Obviously, in the olden days, it was to stop people being splashed by the carriages, but it was also the fact that your sword was always held in your right hand, so you could protect yourself and protect your companion. So here it's saying, yeah, the Lord is going to be at your right hand. Okay, he's the strength. Okay, he's the strength and the valor going forward. He's the very thing that's going to protect you. Okay, we all like to walk in the shade on a sunny day. You know, none of us like that blazing heat on us. Okay, and every single one of us wants to feel safe when we walk along. And here's the psalmist writing, that the Lord is at your right hand. Here he is. He's protecting you. He's your sword, your strength, your valor. Everything that you need to protect you from anything, yeah, is there ready. Okay, the Lord will keep you from harm and will watch over all your life. Okay, I keep missing bits out, and I do apologize. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. Okay, what does it actually mean by the sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night? Well, these are sort of a bit like analogies. Okay, they're sort of used as a sort of, you know, in a certain context. Okay, so the sun is a very real threat. Okay, as we're walking along in the sun, it can be a very real threat. So they use that as, you know, the sort of analogy as all real threats you're being protected from. Okay, there's the Lord at your right hand, and he's protecting you from all real threats. And the moon they use as a sort of significance as conceived threats. Okay, all the things that we think may go wrong, all those things that we look outside or into the darkness at the night time, and we think might be out there. Okay, he's already got those in hand as well. So he's got the very real threats sorted, and everything that stops us, all those barriers that we put in our place to stop us from moving forward or from having those conversations. So I like listening to Stan when Stan says that, obviously, when he preached once about he was given a tracts in a shop. He only had one left. He went outside, and there was somebody he was talking to, and he gave that one last tract to that person. Yeah, and he's got all those things in hand already. Yeah, those sort of those real threats, all those conceived threats, all those things that we think might happen along the way, yeah, all those things that stop us from doing what we're actually supposed to do, which really is going out and spreading the word, okay, telling people about the Lord, all those things that we put in our minds or we put on our own way, God's dealt with them already before we even get to them. And we just got to have trust in the fact that he's already done that. And I suppose in this day and age, trust is so difficult. You know, there's false news, there's sort of things like Facebook and Twitter and whatever else people go on to, where every image is false, really. And people worship those images. And straight away, we're told not to. You know, that we covet things straight away that we're told not to. So it's very hard to have trust in absolutely anything at all these days. This morning, when we were watching the news, Lindsay and I, and it was obviously Keir Starmer on, and Lindsay kept saying, why are they just keeping talking about these parties? Why aren't they actually dealing with anything that's going on? I said, because at the end of the day, they want you to distrust each other. If you get distrust amongst the ranks, they could do whatever they want because you're too busy questioning the last thing that they said, and they've done forward things along the route. Now, it's exactly the same with each and every one of us. We find it difficult to trust in the modern age. But here the psalmist is saying, have trust. Have absolute trust. Yet things are difficult. The route may not be unknown. Okay? The answer to your problem is to have faith in the Lord going forward, because he's already dealt with everything that you may face and everything that you feel that you may face. There's your answer straight away. There's a solution to it. Okay, a lot of people don't still get that. A lot of people have issues around that. Even people who come to church have issues around trust. Because we're molded in that way. You know, society molds you. And this is where we live. We live in society. We live on the earth. But it's not where we're going to. We've got to learn to let go of those things, because that's in your bag. Obviously, the thing that you need to take forward. That trust is so important in the Lord. Okay, the psalmist goes on to write, the Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over you all your life. Okay. People know how Lindsay and I started coming to church. We were sat in the house one day, and out of nowhere, I don't even know who said it. One of us said, I think we should go to church. And we just said, yeah, okay. And we started coming to church. Now, I've been in situations throughout my whole life. I've been to Iraq, Afghanistan, Sierra Leone, Belize, Norway, Cyprus, everywhere that wasn't particularly, Bosnia, anywhere that particularly wasn't very nice. In the 90s I went to. Those places were horrific. I see these sort of newsreels where you see like the lights like going across the sky. Every one of those lights is 10 bullets that's gone past. Okay, I've been in situations where I've had holes in the clothing that I was actually wearing, where the bullet has actually hit the clothing as I'm moving forward. And it's only afterwards that you look at it and you think, that was close. But you get up and do it again and again and again and again. And I look back now over my life and I think there's so many places where God has had his hand on me, whether I knew it or not. At that time, he might just move a little bit to the left, Phil. As a child, I said I went missing for days on end. Yeah, you wouldn't let a child do that now, there'd be uproar. But I know, looking back, where God had his hand on me. And no harm came to me. He gave me what I needed, the freedom to just go be me. But he had his hand there all the time, ready for it, in case anything did go wrong. Yeah, I know that when I moved to Warrington, it wasn't really me that planned to move to Warrington. My life was in a cesspool. It was bad. It was awful. And he went, okay, right, I've got a plan for you now. This is where it really kicks in. I'm moving to Warrington. You don't know anybody. You've got no job. But you're going there anyway because that's the first step along this journey for you. And he moved to Warrington, and I met Lindsay, and I met Jackie, and obviously they were different to the person that I was, completely different to the person that I was. But I always say Lindsay was the person that I was meant to meet because it's the only person I actually listened to. She's my biggest critic, and I love her for it because I know it comes from a place of love, not a place of condemnation. And I found exactly the same thing that when I came to church, that the criticism wasn't a criticism to put me down. It was a criticism to build me up. So the Lord has watched over me my entire life without me even knowing about it. And here the author is saying that the Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over you all your life. Not just right now while you're in church, and obviously we worship the Holy Spirit here every time we come in, but every single morning when you wake up, he's already got your breakfast ready for you. He's got your lunch ready for you. He's got your, everything you need for that day. Yeah, he's already packed your bag for you. He's got everything that you need for that day to carry you forward. And he's going to do that tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and for the rest of your life. And it doesn't just mean here, your physical life here on earth. It means for your eternal life as well. That's the hills that we're climbing over. That's our end destination. And he's going to not only make sure you get there, but while you're there, he's going to make sure you've got everything you need as well. Then the author ends with, the Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. And I think that's such a beautiful sentence to be included in there. He will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. And I think sometimes when we're facing difficult things in life, we forget that. Now, so many times I've tried to correct things myself. Even, obviously, since I've become a Christian, I find sometimes that I go into a panic mode when something isn't quite fitting my model of how something should go. I used to love a list. I've got to do a checklist and make sure I plan everything to absolute perfection, and I tick it off as I'd go. And sometimes those checklists get scumpled up and thrown out the window, and I used to panic about it. But here it is, it's saying, Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. And I think every single one of us can carry that message forward. Yes, as the other writ, there may be problems along the way. Yes, you may not know how to get to your destination, but who's going to provide the help? The Lord. How can we be certain that the Lord's going to provide that help? Because he created heaven and earth and every real and conceived problem is under his complete control. Yeah? But how we should, well, it guarantees our safety. He's going to be there at our right hand all the time. He's going to keep us safe from every conceived and imaginable and every sort of real threat. He's there all the time, making sure that we've got enough strength and the skills and everything we need to get through it. Okay, so how long is he going to do it for, and how can we make sure that he's definitely keeping watch? He's always awake. He doesn't sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, from the beginning of time to the very end of time. He has promised that he will not fall asleep on the job. We may rest, we may falter, we may go off to the side slightly, but he's always going to be awake at our right hand, guiding us over those hills, making sure that we're safe. So how long is he going to do it for? Again, for now and forevermore. And we can be absolutely certain that what's written here is the absolute truth. So when we think about our pilgrimage, or the pilgrimage that we're on a journey over those hills to a religious place. We're on a religious journey. We are pilgrims, and here the pilgrims have got this absolute promise in the Lord that we can be certain that everything we need on a daily basis is provided for us. Keep hearing about, don't worry about problems tomorrow. Worry about today. Obviously, it gives us exactly what we need for that 24-hour period. Every time we wake up in the morning, the day is already planned for us. The week ahead is already planned for us. And we've just got to ask ourselves every morning, Lord, give me the strength to do exactly what you want me to do. Give me the skills and the knowledge that you're here all the time. Those difficult conversations, those interviews that you have, where people just want to discuss your faith on your CV. And you may think, okay, not quite appropriate in a job interview. Yes, it is. Absolutely it is, because the Lord has maneuvered me to that position where he wants me to have that conversation. That's part of the journey that I'm going on. Find the last page of my notes. So we're absolutely certain. We've got an absolute promise here. In this, our living Bible, our word, the very sort of thing, the only thing that we actually do need in life, really. If I was going to pack a bag, this is what would be in it. This, in fact, when I go on holiday, some of you may laugh, but there's suntan lotion marks on the front of this Bible. This is the Bible that Bob gave me a few years ago, Gideon's Bible. Okay, and it's actually got fingerprints in it now, where I've had suntan lotion on my hands, and I've been sat at the side of the pool on holiday reading it. Because it's the only thing that I actually need to take anywhere with me. It is the only travel companion. Okay, it's better than TripAdvisor, or Where Are You Now, or whatever else you could take with you. It's got everything I need in here. Some people look at me strange when I'm sat at the side of the swimming pool. I have to say I'm on holiday. I'm sat there reading my Bible. The kids have got the headphones in and they're singing away to the latest songs. Or Lindsay's got the book she's bought at W.H. Smith's at the airport on the route. But I take this. And the reason why, in fact, I've took this last couple of holidays, and once somebody asked me about it, which I was more than happy to talk to them about. And I thought, you know what, this is the perfect travel companion. So if I did have a bag and I was going to pack it, and I was going, obviously, out tomorrow, for whatever reason, this would be the very thing that I put in my bag now. Because it gives me so much opportunity, actually, to learn more about the journey that I'm going on, the journey that I've been on, and to actually share that journey with other people. So just as we go forward from here today, just be absolutely certain in the fact that everything's catered for. Everything that you need, physical, spiritual, mental, health-wise, has been catered for already. He's the perfect host. He created the whole earth, the whole universe, put us on it, and he gave us everything we need to make sure that we get from point A to point B safely, improved. It's like a perfect health spa, isn't it? We go along, we get cleansed, we get a treatment, so we're purified. So we come away feeling refreshed. And by the time we move on to something else, we're a new person. The perfect place to be. But where we're going to is so much better. So much better. And we're going to be so much better for climbing those hills and for taking that journey on a daily basis. So thank you for listening to me today.